minister has called for an international war crimes investigation over the war in Syria. Jean-Marc Ayrault told French radio the government would take the matter to the International Criminal Court after a French proposed ceasefire resolution was vetoed by Russia at the UN Security Council last week. The foreign minister, however, stopped short of naming just who should be held accountable.
There are war crimes committed there. The UN chief has said as much. Now we have to establish what the responsibilities are. We're working within the framework of international law. France will contact the chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court to see how
and right now, a Baltimore County community on edge after 3 of their neighbors were attacked inside of their own home. 1 was killed.
Yeah, police don't have a lot of information about who might be behind this attack or why it happened. ABC2's Megan Knight is live outside police headquarters in Baltimore County with what we do know this morning. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Christian and Ashley. Yeah, we know that this happened in a home off Rossville Boulevard in Rosedale early Sunday morning, and in what neighbors describe as a very quiet, a very peaceful suburban community. It was around 3:30 Sunday morning when police got a call of reports of shots fired, and when they got to that home, they found 2 men who had been shot, 1 man who had been beaten in the head. One of the men who was shot, identified now as 61-year-old Stanley Anthony Lane, died after being taken to the hospital. We don't know the condition right now of the other 2 victims. Police don't have a lot to go on at this point. They don't even know how many suspects broke into the home, but they are determined to find them.
They committed some really violent crime, 2 shootings and a very brutal assault, and then they ran away. So we don't know why they did it. We don't know if they took anything. But we're going to find out.
Now, there was also a woman inside of the home. She managed to escape unharmed. It's not clear at this point the relationship of those who live inside the house. But if you have any information that might be helpful to police, you're asked to give them a call. That number is 1-866-7-LOCK-UP.
Director of Shafarna Institute for Middle Eastern Studies, Ms. Catherine Shakhtam, joins us now from the British capital, London. Ms. Shakhtam, welcome to the program. Let's start off with getting your thoughts on the Saudi massacre that took place on Saturday in Sana'a.
Well, I think it's appalling. But then again, you know, if anyone was ever under any impression as to the nature of Riyadh's regime, I think that what happened yesterday in Yemen, you know, the massacre, and actually, I think it's a crime against humanity, personally, you know, just prove again that, you know, Saudi Arabia has to go. It's as simple as that. I mean, you have a state which is the very definition of terror, and what they have done is an act of terror against not just the Yemeni people, but I think against, you know, all people. To target, you know, people when they are at a funeral, when, you know, they are, I would say, most vulnerable, knowing that, you know, people came to pay the last respect, and double tap it, not just one, but twice, you know, with the clear intent to have maximum casualty and maximum death, is appalling. The simple fact that the United Nations and other world power cannot even, you know, master the courage to actually, you know, witness to the crimes of Saudi Arabia and acknowledge the crime of Saudi Arabia, again, is further proof that the world is continued to be held hostage by Saudi Arabia's, you know, money. And it is just despicable. I mean, how can we talk about international law? How can we talk about democracy and even justice when you have war criminals sitting in Riyadh laughing and clapping as Yemeni are dying?
Ms. Shakhtam, there's been a string of condemnations following Saturday's attack in Sana'a. One of them was from the United States. They were very cautious in choosing their words, but they did express concern about the conduct of the Saudis in the war on Yemen. One of the highlights of the comments was that the Saudis do not have a blank check when it comes to U.S. security support. Now, try explaining that to the families of the victims of those 10,000 who've been killed so far in the year-long war on Yemen. The question is that when will these words turn into actions? Till now, they've been mere platitudes.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, like you said, you know, those are just words until actions are actually followed by those statements. I mean, they mean nothing. And this is the problem with the United Nations. I mean, for how many decades now have they actually condemned horrible war crimes and despicable massacres, but nothing is ever done. I mean, if anything, whenever the United Nations actually reacts against war crimes or crimes against humanity, it's just, for political purposes when it actually suits their own agenda. When it comes to the true meaning of justice, I don't think that they understand the meaning of it. I don't think they can act upon it, because the United Nations stands a very hollow institution, because they cannot stand up to the likes of Saudi Arabia. Everything today has been politicized. I would say that most of the United Nations officials actually take their cue from Riyadh, because Riyadh continues to actually pay the bills. So as long as Saudi Arabia offers its money, as long as the United Nations continue to take this money, then nothing will ever change. And this is the problem. We continue to look upon the United Nations as if they're going to do something, as if they actually even stand for something. They don't. They simply don't. So we need to, I think it is time that we actually realize that, if justice is to come, it is within our own hands to take it. We don't need the United Nations to actually give it to us. We all know what Saudi Arabia is. We actually know what Saudi Arabia stands for, and we know exactly what to do. The Yemeni are actually doing it. The Yemeni have died for over a year in complete silence and ignorance of the world community, but they continue to fight because there is no other choice but to fight. The only way forward is actually through Saudi Arabia. This is what the resistance movement in Yemen has done, will continue to do, because they don't have any other way. There is no other choice for Yemen but to stand and to fight. And for those people who continue to believe Saudi Arabia, when Saudi Arabia says that it had nothing to do with this massacre, I would like to ask whether alien came to actually bomb Yemen, because there was no one else in the skies of Yemen, unless, of course, maybe the United Nations, or maybe the US, or maybe the UK, or maybe France has something to actually say to this. But as far as I'm concerned, there are only Saudi Arabia warplanes in the skies of Yemen. So yes, they were the one who committed this treacherous act, but no one will say anything to them, because everyone is bowing to Saudi Arabia today. It is time that this change. We need to actually wake up and realize that those people are criminals of war, and what they do is no better than what Daesh is doing. They are actually the same thing. So if we are actually true about counterterrorism, I would say that we need to back Yemen resistance movement against those criminals in Riyadh, and it is time.
Breaking news this morning, Tulsa police are investigating a double murder in North Tulsa. They say 2 people were shot and killed inside a bar.
2 Works for You reporter Giselle Puente is live from the scene. So Giselle, what can you tell us this morning?
Tonight, Daniel, Tulsa detectives are investigating homicides 56 and 57 this morning. They found 2 people dead inside this bar behind me in North Tulsa called Bar Siete de Copas. Now, police say they received a call after 1 o'clock this morning about a shooting at this bar. When officers arrived, they found a man and a woman dead inside. They both had gunshot wounds. Police are questioning a person who was also inside at the bar at that time. Now, officers say they also found beer bottles on the ground and overturned chairs, but it doesn't look like there was any sign of a big fight. Now, police are searching for a motive this morning, and there have been no arrests at this time, but we're going to continue reporting live from the scene and bringing you the latest updates from this double fatal shooting investigation. Reporting in North Tulsa, Giselle Puente, and 2 Works for You.
Mallory from the live desk. More on the breaking news we've been following. It appears street racing may be to blame near Central Avenue in Butler. ABC 15's Justin Pizzera at the scene of this one. Justin, my understanding you just spoke with police. I see the crime scene tape is up as well.
They just put this crime scene tape up, Chris. We were actually just pushed back because we were on the other side of this, pretty close to the crash. Let me tell you, on the left side of your screen, there's a car. It's actually kind of wrapped around the tree. Then on your right side of the screen, there's yet another car. It's up against a wall. I was just told by Phoenix police that 2 people, they were street racing down Central, lost control. One of those cars, when it hit the tree, it caught fire. 2 people were thrown from that vehicle. 1 person did die here on scene. Those other 2 guys that were in those cars, they are not expected to survive this morning. I talked with neighbors who live in this area, and they said that they heard those cars just flying down Central. One guy said that he actually heard somebody count them down, and then they took off. At this point, we're not sure how fast they were actually going, but Phoenix Police, another officer, just said that we're expected to get another update in just in the next few minutes. So, of course, when we get that, we will pass that along. We're live in Phoenix. Justin Pizzera, ABC 15.
The attack took place in this busy street in front of the Israeli police headquarters. The armed motorist opened fire on pedestrians, wounding at least 2 before speeding off towards the center of Jerusalem. After a police pursuit, the attacker's car was brought to a halt.
Was chased by police special patrol units on a fast motorbike, Shots were then fired at our police officers on their motorbikes, who responded and shot and killed the terrorist. What we found inside the vehicle, which is being searched at the moment, is the terrorist had other ammunition. The areas in and around Jerusalem have been closed off in order to prevent any further terrorist attacks.
The assailant's body was later removed from the scene. The attack takes place just a few days before the Jewish day of Yom Kippur, the most solemn day on the Jewish calendar. Religious holidays in Israel, both Muslim and Jewish, often prompt a surge in attacks. Israel's prime minister praised the police's swift response.
I would like to wish a speedy recovery to the injured, and also to say that, according to the reports we're getting, this was very fast, a very determined action of the Israeli police officers who chased the terrorist and killed him.
The past year has seen a series of Palestinian assaults, mainly stabbings, which have left over 30 Israelis and 2 visiting Americans dead. During that period,
this is all new tonight. A heartbreaking tragedy in Weld County. A 17-year-old Platte Valley High School student was killed in a crash when his car hit a horse. Derek Prescott of Kersey died in the crash on Highway 34. This is between Greeley and Kersey. You can see here he was on the basketball team at Platte Valley. Investigators are still looking into what exactly happened. Derek's family has released a statement tonight saying, quote, "Our family is shocked at the sudden passing of Derek. We are so thankful for the prayers and outpouring of support from everyone who knew Derek." From the Kersey Community